Imagine for a moment a banquet unlike any other. The air hums with divine power, laughter rings like celestial bells, and the food is ambrosia, the drink is nectar, the very sustenance of gods. Seated among these radiant beings is a mortal, a king named Tantalus. He's the only human ever granted this honor, a favorite of Zeus himself. He dines with the Olympians, shares their secrets, and basks in their golden light. It's a dream, isn't it? The pinnacle of mortal achievement. But what happens when that dream curdles into a nightmare? What happens when a man so favored by the gods decides to test them? Tantalus is about to learn that the fall from Olympus is a long, long way down, and the punishment for his arrogance will echo through eternity. This is the story of a king who had everything and threw it all away for a single monstrous act. This is the myth of Tantalus, a cautionary tale etched into the very foundation of Greek mythology. But to understand his crime, we first need to understand the man. Tantalus was the king of Lydia, a land of fabulous wealth. His mines overflowed with gold, his tables groaned under the weight of feasts, and his lineage was touched by the divine. Some even say he was a son of Zeus. This proximity to the gods gave him an unparalleled status among mortals. He was invited to Olympus not as a servant but as a guest, a friend. He listened to the gossip of Hera, shared a drink with Apollo, and even learned secrets meant only for immortal ears. For a time it was perfect. He was the bridge between the mortal and the divine. But a dangerous seed was planted in his heart. Pride, a terrible, all-consuming hubris. He started to see himself not as a favored mortal, but as an equal to the gods. He began to believe that their rules, their divine authority, didn't apply to him. And with this arrogance came a chilling thought, a test so blasphemous it defies imagination. He decided to find out if the gods were truly all-knowing. So Tantalus devises a plan. He invites the Olympian gods to a grand banquet at his own palace in Lydia. It's a bold move, a reversal of their usual arrangement. The gods, perhaps amused by his audacity, accept. The finest silks are draped, the grandest halls are prepared, and a feast is laid out that would make any mortal king weep with envy. The gods arrive, taking their seats. Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Apollo, Artemis, all of them. They expect a lavish meal, a show of respect from their favorite mortal. But Tantalus has a secret, a horrifying main course prepared in the palace kitchens. He wants to know, are the gods truly omniscient? Can they tell the difference between the meat of an animal and something else? In an act of ultimate betrayal and unthinkable cruelty, Tantalus has his own son, Pelops, prepared and served as the main dish. He brings the platter to the table, his heart a cold stone of defiance, and offers it to his divine guests. The fate of the world seems to hang in the balance of this single, horrific meal. A hush falls over the banquet hall. The gods, who have seen all manner of mortal folly, are momentarily stunned. The scent of the roasted meat fills the air, but something is terribly wrong. All the gods, in their infinite wisdom, immediately recognize the unspeakable nature of the meal before them. All but one. Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, is lost in a deep grief. Her beloved daughter Persephone has recently been taken to the underworld, and her mind is clouded by sorrow. Distracted and heartbroken, she unthinkingly reaches out and eats a piece from the shoulder of the dish. In that instant, the other gods recoil in horror. Zeus, his face a thundercloud of righteous fury, rises to his feet. The game is over. The test has been failed. Tantalus, in his arrogance, has not only proven the gods' omniscience, but he has also committed a crime so vile, so offensive to the natural and divine order, that it cannot go unpunished. The banquet of the gods is over, and the judgment of Tantalus is about to begin. The king who wanted to be a god would now suffer a fate worse than any mortal death. The wrath of Zeus is a terrifying thing to behold. With a wave of his hand, the feast turns to dust. Tantalus is seized, his pleas for mercy falling on deaf ears. There will be no swift end for him. For a crime this heinous, the punishment must be eternal, a perfect reflection of his offense. He is cast down into the darkest pit of the underworld, Tartarus, the realm reserved for the greatest enemies of the gods. And there his torment begins. Tantalus stands in a pool of crystal clear water that reaches up to his chin. His throat is parched, cracked, with a thirst so profound it feels like his very soul is turning to sand. He bends down, desperate to drink, but as his lips near the surface, the water recedes, vanishing into the scorched earth beneath him, always just beyond his grasp. The water mocks him, shimmering with the promise of relief that will never come. But his torment doesn't end there. Above his head hangs a magnificent fruit tree, its branches heavy with ripe, luscious figs, gleaming pomegranates, and sweet, juicy pears. The pangs of hunger that gnaw at him are a living fire in his stomach. He is starving, wasting away. With all his remaining strength, he reaches up, his fingers stretching, straining to pluck just one piece of fruit. But as he reaches, a sudden gust of wind sent by the gods sweeps through the boughs, lifting the branches just out of his reach. He tries again and again, but the fruit always dances away, a tantalizing promise of sustenance that is forever denied. He is surrounded by everything he needs to survive: water to quench his thirst, food to end his hunger, yet he is condemned to suffer from both for all eternity. This is his curse. To be forever on the precipice of satisfaction, to have relief perpetually in sight, but always, always unattainable. The man who offered his own son as food is now denied all food himself. The king who broke the sacred bond of hospitality now finds no comfort, no relief, no end to his suffering. This is the fate of Tantalus. So, what are we to make of this grim and fascinating story? The myth of Tantalus is more than just a horror story from ancient Greece. It's a powerful exploration of human nature and our relationship with the divine, or with any power greater than ourselves. At its core, it's a story about hubris, the dangerous pride that makes us believe we are above the rules. Tantalus had it all: wealth, power, and the favor of the gods. But it wasn't enough. He had to test the limits, to challenge authority, to prove he was their equal. His punishment serves as a stark reminder that there are boundaries that should not be crossed. The myth also gave us a word we still use today: tantalize. To be tantalized is to be tormented by the sight of something you desire but cannot have. Tantalus's eternal punishment is the literal embodiment of this concept. It is a physical manifestation of a psychological state we all experience, the frustration of a goal that is just out of reach. Think about that promotion you almost got, or the opportunity that slipped through your fingers. That feeling has its roots in this ancient, dark tale. But there's another layer to this myth, one that speaks to the very fabric of civilization. Tantalus's crime wasn't just murder. It was a violation of the most sacred laws of hospitality and kinship. He betrayed his guests, the gods, and sacrificed his own child. This act represents a complete breakdown of social and moral order. By punishing him so severely, the gods are reinforcing the fundamental rules that hold society together: respect for life, for family, and for the sacred trust between host and guest. The story of Tantalus, therefore, is a foundational myth that teaches a profound lesson: that our humanity is defined not by our ambition to be like gods, but by our ability to uphold the bonds of compassion and respect that connect us to one another. It's a warning that echoes from the depths of Tartarus to this very day. Be careful what you reach for, because some temptations come with an eternal price. And what became of Pelops, the son served at that horrific banquet? The gods, taking pity on the innocent victim, decided to restore him. They gathered the pieces of his body from the platter and boiled them in a sacred cauldron. He was brought back to life, made whole once more. All except for his shoulder, the part that a grieving Demeter had eaten. In its place, the god Hephaestus, the master craftsman, forged him a new shoulder out of gleaming ivory. Pelops would go on to become a great hero, a king in his own right, and the ancestor of the tragic house of Atreus, a family line that would be haunted by curses for generations to come, including the famous heroes Agamemnon and Menelaus. So, even in this dark tale of punishment, there is a glimmer of resurrection and continuity, a sign that even after the most horrific act, life, in some form, finds a way to go on. The legacy of Tantalus is not just one of torment, but also one that spawned some of the greatest and most tragic stories in all of Greek mythology. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the dark heart of mythology. The story of Tantalus is a chilling reminder of the dangers of pride and the eternal consequences of our actions. If you found this tale as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into the stories that shaped our world. Let me know in the comments what myth you'd like to explore next. Until then, stay curious.